As we've mentioned in several recent videos, public sentiment is starting to shift in a positive direction regarding the economy under President Biden. So much so that MAGA-aligned Fox News hosts are not only publicly admitting that they were wrong about the economy, they're now publicly urging Republicans to stop campaigning on it. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert buttons before you go. I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, friends, this is excellent news. We've talked about this and we've been talking about it because, as you know, for decades, Republicans have enjoyed a colossal polling advantage with respect to the economy. Even though if you look at meta-analyses by economists of the U.S. economy, all the macroeconomic indicators generally perform better when Democrats are in power compared to Republicans. But this is the misalignment between facts and feelings. Facts are important, but when it comes to winning elections, feelings matter so much more. Well, now we're starting to see the feelings shift in the right direction because, according to consistent polling, Americans are starting to feel pretty comfortable about their personal finances and the economy writ large, which leaves one missing piece, which is tying those positive feelings to President Biden's leadership. That's the work that President Biden and the Democrats have to do these next 9 months before the election. But things are getting so bad for Republicans that not only are they admitting that they were wrong on the economy, again, Fox News hosts, deranged hosts like Dagen, McDowell are publicly urging Republicans to drop the economy and move on to something else. To put it in perspective before I play some of these clips, and you can bask in the schadenfreude, I want you to hear how the president describes the state of the economy to UAW and union workers during a recent speech.
And folks, look, we now have, in large part because of you and organized labor, the strongest economy in the whole damn world. We do. We do. In the whole world. Inflation's coming down. Jobs are growing. We created 800,000 manufacturing jobs.
So, I mean, there's so much more to go into, but the president is absolutely correct. Based on GDP growth and economic recovery, the fact of the matter is that the U.S. economy is outperforming every other advanced economy on Earth, period, including China. And prior to the pandemic, by this point, economists were projecting that the Chinese economy would actually surpass the United States when, in fact, it's contracted. Okay, so we're outperforming China under President Biden's leadership. Before I get to the coup de grace, right, which again is Fox News just publicly urging Republicans to drop it, I want to give you a couple of recent clips. And this one in particular, it's another one from Larry Kudlow, who is an openly MAGA-aligned Fox News host. He was Donald Trump's top economic advisor when Trump was president. This is how he describes the current economy under Joe Biden.
We had a blowout jobs report, more than twice the consensus expectation. Now, I know many of my conservative friends are trying to drill holes in this report. But you know what, folks? It is what it is. It's a very strong report. Not every economic stat should be viewed through a political lens.
None of them should, really, if we're being honest. But again, this mea culpa from Larry Kudlow, it's like the second or third one that he's given in the past 3 weeks. It's extraordinary. And it doesn't just stop at Larry Kudlow. You also have Vanney as well. I'm blanking on his name. I think Jim Vanney, maybe. He's also a Fox News host. This is how he describes the Biden economy.
I see a strong economy at this moment. Employment strong, a slight decrease in inflation. I see strength there. I don't see a recession.
Nor do anybody at this point. Most macro economists, most financial firms have revised their predictions with respect to a recession. Not to say that it's impossible, but that it's not expected, right? This is defied expectations. Now the coup de grace. Okay, Dagen McDowell is somebody, she's a Fox News anchor or host. I should say host because she's not a journalist per se. She is a political commentator. She's one of the more unhinged ones in the Fox Propaganda Network's employ. She's been in several of our videos, in which she tars and feathers Gen Z, for example. I mean, this woman is known for her extreme views. And even she has come to grips with reality. And here is her advice to the Republican Party.
Or 2016, rather.
The Republicans should be very careful about the messaging on the economy. Immigration, number one issue in Iowa and New Hampshire. I argue because the economy is receding in importance among the voters because it's good. Stock market at a record high. University of Michigan gauge of consumer sentiment up in 2 months, the most in more than 3 decades. And home ownership. If you own your home at a low fixed rate mortgage, 3%, and the value of your home is going up, that is wealth accumulation. And you have a fixed rate mortgage, you have a fixed payment every month, and your wages are increasing. This in the monthly jobs report, 4.5% annual wage increases, fixed monthly payment on your home, your wages are going up at 4.5%. That is extra spending money. That's how you benefit from inflation. And people are out spending. And
so again, she's saying Republicans need to be very careful about this. They effectively need to drop it, in her estimation, as somebody who wants Republicans to win. She wants Democrats to lose. Of course, she doesn't want to give President Biden or Democrats any sort of plaudits or accolades for the economy. She's saying Republicans, let it go. Do not campaign on this. And it makes sense because now even Donald Trump is trying to publicly take credit for stock market performance under President Biden, even though he repeatedly predicted the stock market would crash under President Biden, even though it's actually blowing out records time and time again. Nobel Prize winning economist Paul Krugman pointed this out too in response to an Axios article, which says 63% of Americans rate their current financial situation as being good, including 19% of us who say it's very good, according to findings from our Axios Vibe survey. This is what he said. A year ago, those of us who said that Americans declaring the economy was terrible also felt pretty good about their own situation were ridiculed. Now it's becoming conventional wisdom. Again, because there was a strong disconnect between perceptions of how Americans felt about their own economy versus the economy of those around them. Even as far back as a year ago, I think even longer than that, there were most Americans were saying, yeah, I'm in a pretty good spot. I just don't think everybody else is. So it was the strange misalignment. Last thing I want to do, since we're talking about how great the economy is under President Biden, I want to remind you of how the economy was under Donald Trump. Obviously, we could spend hours talking about it, but Robert Reich, who used to be the Secretary of Labor under President Clinton, an economic expert, this is his quick summation of the Trump-era economy as a refresher for those of us who have forgotten, those of us who are, encumbered with more recent memories, as Donald Trump tries to exploit that to his own gain.
President Trump presided over a historic net loss of nearly 3 million American jobs. The worst jobs numbers ever recorded under an American president. This is no fluke. America's economy has almost always done worse under Republican presidents. A New York Times analysis found that since 1933, the U.S. economy has grown nearly twice as fast on average under Democrats. Now, Trump's defenders claim it's not his fault that the economy collapsed under his watch. It was the pandemic.
We've done a great job. The press won't give us credit for it.
But there are two big things wrong with this. First, the pandemic recession was as bad as it was because of Trump. His failure to lead with any national strategy.
You bought yourself some time. You didn't use it to prepare hospitals.
Let me just listen.
Left America in chaos throughout 2020. Long after other nations had developed coordinated testing, tracing, and social distancing plans that allowed them to reopen their economies. And secondly,
So this is basically, if you've heard me have conversations with conservatives, I mean, I've talked about this in my own videos, but like in debates and conversations I've had with conservatives on this channel and on other channels, this is the point that I try to make, which is, Republicans and enlightened centrists and independents try to grade Trump on a curve. They say, listen, he had a great economy, but we can't count 2020 because of COVID. Again, number one, they would never, ever, ever grant that concession if the roles were reversed and 2020 had been under the leadership of a Democrat, right? They would never say, if COVID had happened in the last year of President Obama's term, they would never say, we shouldn't count it. Let's give Obama a mulligan because of COVID. So why should we do that for them? Number one. But number two, as I've talked about, the part of the reason why I grade Trump so harshly with respect to his COVID performance in the economy is because he didn't do everything in his power to manage the virus in good faith. He constantly undercut his medical advisors. He, talked and retweeted about firing Dr. Fauci and undermined public confidence. He didn't use the bully pulpit of the presidency to unite Republican governors and Republican politicians to take the virus seriously, even though Democrats demonstrated time and time again that they were willing to work with Donald Trump when he was president, even though it was during an election year and he would get the political points for a victory. They helped him pass enormous, sweeping, consequential, bipartisan COVID relief, and Trump got the credit for it. He literally put his name on the damn checks that he sent out to Americans. So the problem wasn't Democrats being unwilling to work with Trump. It was Trump didn't rally Republicans. So yes, I blame him immensely for the fallout and the mismanagement of COVID. If he did everything in his power in good faith to manage it responsibly and there was still economic hardship, then I wouldn't be nearly as harsh on him. But at the end of the day, even though there's a formidable fire for a firefighter, the firefighter is still obligated to take the fire seriously, even if it's something that they can't properly contain. You're still obligated to put your best foot forward. Trump didn't do that, and therefore he is majorly responsible for the consequences of it. But the fact of the matter is, even if you control for, pandemic recovery, right, especially with respect to jobs, President Biden has created more jobs, or more jobs have been created at a higher rate per month than Donald Trump, even if you don't count 2020, which again, we should. All of which is to say that there's so many myths surrounding the Trump economy, to say nothing of the fact that he inherited a good economy from President Obama. As we said, Obama basically, to use a metaphor, built the skyscraper and then left office. And then Trump added some more stories to it, some more floors. And then the whole thing collapsed on his watch. But he wanted to basically say, if the whole thing collapses, he shouldn't get the blame for it. Count all the time prior to the collapsing of the metaphorical skyscraper, but also give him credit for every floor built instead of just the final few. That's how Republican logic works in terms of grading the GOP and Republicans on a curve. We shouldn't do that. We should never do that. And I think it says something that the consumer sentiment is changing so much that even the Fox propaganda network is telling Republicans to drop it. They should, and Democrats should be using these next 9 months to make it abundantly clear to the American people that much of their confidence in the economy is attributable to President Biden's legislative agenda. But that's just my opinion. You let me know what you think in the comments.